Well, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, we'll try that one again. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. It's much more fun when we join in. My name is Nick Goodall. I'm the Bard of Broadstairs. Now, I've already been asked today, how did I get the name? There's a possibility it was a mishearing and I was barred from Broadstairs at one point. But it may just be that it's a coincidence that I've been doing poetry in Broadstairs for a year or so. I was the Broadstairs Blues Bash poet in residence, which meant I got to read poems and then people came on and sang about how their baby had left them, which is pretty much poetry with a 12-bar chord progression following it. So poetry is a lot like music, but without the inconvenience of having a bloke with a fiddle standing next to you. And what I'm going to try and do today is to give you 25 minutes of poetry, mostly that will make you remember things you'd forgotten or show you things you'd forgotten, or in some cases just go for cheap punning laughs. I'm not, as I was also asked before I got here, doing some kind of Beach Boys tribute act. I'm going to do poetry that's about, well, I trust something you can relate to. The first one I'm going to do, anybody heard of John Cooper Clarke? Yeah. Now, John Cooper Clarke, he's achieved the impossible. He's popularised poetry to a population who thought they didn't like it, and all poets will acknowledge the influence it's had on them. He's friends with a mutual acquaintance of ours called Martin Newell, who's also a poet, and they were talking about what makes a great poet. And they said poets read poetry. No big surprise there, but the really good ones deconstruct it and parody it to show how good they are. So this is my love song or homage to John Cooper Clarke. Will you let me be your Johnny Clark? I want to be the dog that barks, will be the voices in the dark, watching box sets of Pole Dark. Will you let me be your school caretaker, your Saturday night defibrillator? With you I'll be the masticator, could you be my blotting paper? Will you be forever home and call, not text, it's called a phone. Expect to give the dog a bone, on your coffee I'll be the phone. Will you react favourably, put the baton in boulangerie, read my poems out in threes, foreplay horizontally? Will you love me like a horse? I've got the house brand special sauce, eat kimchi till my voice is hoarse, our loving will be coarse, of course. Will you be my final date? I am implying mortal mate. Don't delay, don't hesitate, might not be bad, might not be great. Will you listen to me moan on me she shat, that bird has flown, I want to pack my dripping foam in your sack of sushi rice. I think that's the sound of rain. No, I'm kidding. This make whatever noise you feel is appropriate. Well, it's even better and quite unexpected. Does anybody remember the late lamented Thanet Beer Festival? Yeah, you see. I've had a theory for years that it was a big government conspiracy to see whether they could use it as a way of population control. Because essentially it was 1,500 men of a certain age and size who had decided that the more they drank, the more sexually attractive they became to women, which appears to be not true. However, it made for fascinating observations of some of the people there. You may recognise this person. If it's you, I've got some numbers that might help. He's knocking back another pint he doesn't want, an awful sight. He thinks that he will last the night. He won't, that's what his friends know. Now his jokes are getting louder, hopes his friends have got some powder. Really couldn't be more prouder as his bladder starts to blow. The room's now moving round him. 2 more pints follow, down his chin. The lights inside him are getting dim. He won't be going yet, though. Oh, just one more, I'll get these all here, mate. No, go on, here's a score or anything, but get some crisps. He drops his glass, falls on his arse, can't find his bus pass. It's autopilot home. Then in his chair, kebab in hair. He didn't pull, was just a dare, I didn't fancy her, no. At 3 a.m, like other men, who think that when they're drunk they let the pain go. Remembers shouts and knockabouts and guts in doubts. He hates to get this low, so he's reaching for the whiskey. I come from a place called Colchester, which once upon a time was a rural place with a distinct sort of Suffolk accent. And I'm going to mangle that in this poem here, which is a sort of true life story. It's called Found Him Dead with an Acrobat. Twisted round her little finger, half a clown and part-time singer, high wire act, bit of a minger, ex-stunt double for Corporal Klinger. Found him dead in an acrobat, diclofenac spread round flat, duvet bunch round plates of meat, fish for dinner, special treat. This is what the paper spat, found him dead with an acrobat. Hoping for a decent send-off, garage flowers, hacking cough, skin on fire, heart of ice, try the rhubarb, really nice. Elephant's ears, Dactari's trunk, gluten-free, still got him drunk, no one knew but no one asked, thought that he'd been played for laughs. Tried his best, then failed at that, ready reckoned, scored as twat. Didn't mean to hurt the cat, found him dead with an acrobat. Found him dead with an acrobat, went in first but last a bat. The dirty, rotten, stinking rat, found him dead with an acrobat. Any cyclists in? Oh, yes, of course, Thomas. Maybe, yeah, okay. Next time you see me do this, don't put your hand up. When I say cyclist, I mean like the hardcore proper cycling, lycra, right? Still putting your hand up?
No.
No. Well, you see, learns fast, and he's following me. So this is about cyclists, as described. This is called Lunchbox. A peloton of cyclists, all bikes and extra chains and special pants with seats built in, filled up the high-speed train. They'd hurtled down from London, sharp stop before the sea, and now we're going home again with curry sauce for tea. Despite their cleats and studs and socks, that ride at times was hell. Now for relief it's Bee Gees songs and gargling San Miguel. The bants were chips and Strava, camaraderie of men. Eased into lycra, little caps, it's dress-up time again. Very kind. Pam Ayres. Pam Ayres mentioned earlier on. Pam Ayres fans? No? Yeah, no, deny. Everybody's looking around going, what are everybody else saying? I'm a big fan. I'm unashamed. I actually went to see her in Guildford or somewhere. I mean, that was a trip. But again, fascinating when you sit in this. Well, no, it had been rescheduled because of the Rona. And her audience is older. And there were little pockets of seats that were unclaimed for the rescheduled thing. I thought, oh dear. Oh well, I'll do a poem about that. Through chilly drizzle midweek night, the patient came like me, for steaks at Coach, free parking and a little poetry. Trotted in the white tops, in beanies, perms the bald, I think I saw a brown syrup, what Cockney wigs are called. They'd come to hear a superstar who softly reassured her fans for years from near and far, from modern world inured. And at a desk, books piled on piles, her sacred words laid out, each signed with friendly loopy smiles, a guaranteed sellout. Teeth, her husband, platypus, the favourites ticked off done. She even rapped about a fox, they seemed to like that one. Moving slowly with the times as right left for the night, could they believe that midst her rhymes the blessed Pam said shite? She did. Shall we sit on the bench without flowers, lest we catch what it says they died of? Shall we look at the same sea-gold skyline and flick V's at the drone we're above? Shall we talk like there's something to aim for, as if anything matters at all, when we know we've already decided and our crests are beginning to fall? Shall we look like we're innocent parties to the action right here on this seat, and the flowers for the dearly departed are the closest to love we will meet? I do not want to die an old man's death. I want to die alive. The only fear I want to feel is the one on the thrill of the ride. Let me die before I fail, even if I don't succeed. Allow me grace and freedom from unpleasantness and need. Do not think of me when I stop. I'm gone and won't come back. There's nothing left and no one here once I'm dead, and that's the fact. Do it now while I'm alive. Hate me, love me, cry. Kiss my hand, spit in my eye. Fight me, sing to me, tell me your lies. You cannot do that when I've died, so do whatever now. There are no returns or refunds made. Don't say you didn't try.
Yeah, very good.
This has been requested. I mean, that's, it's always good to get requests. Well, no, it's not always good to get requests. Usually it's when you stop. But this is a request for a specific poem, so I'd like to dedicate this one to Julie. That's Julie, because she's not blushing enough yet. This is called Ever Fallen in Love. Ever fallen in really like with someone? Every Spotify song's about you. Never known such a feeling as this one in the limerence shiny and new. When the learning is oh so heuristic, basic instinct that gnaws at your soul, yet denied that you feel the emotion when there's something that's stuck in your eye. Ever fallen in bed with someone and mistaken an organ for heart, when your senses are each overloaded and you barely prize yourselves apart? When the butterfly soars and then crashes, when the butterfly opens for you, when the butterfly captures the sunshine, when the butterfly settles on you. Ever fallen in love with someone and declared your intentions are pure, when the future is open and endless, yet you end up just feeling not sure? There is no one. There is no one. But when someone arrives, eventually you sigh and lose control of your knees. Ever fallen in love with yourself, though? The rarest sensation of all. If you can, then the promise is endless. The eventual score is love all. I have a walking buddy. We go for walks, and happily married woman, made that quite clear. Always says, come in, have a cup of tea. Went in, stacks of jigsaws everywhere, just jigsaws. And I thought, oh, what's this? And she said, oh yeah. Sometimes we have threesomes. And I thought, what? She goes, yeah, 3 of us do the jigsaw together. And I thought, oh, that's a relief, but there's a poem in that. It's called Each to Their Own. My friend enjoys jigsaws and threesomes. Combines them, I'm puzzled to say. Sometimes she starts off in a corner, and when bits are pressed in, hopes they'll stay. Keep up the note. Both games have their own special tables. Likes both hard, for a while at least. She begins with her favourite, edging, and does Sky when her friend Sky's a beast. Doesn't help when the pieces are half cut, like the couple she met in the pub. Can I find what I need, she'll wonder? Is there any point? Ah, there's the rub. Won't be judged by the jealous or pervy, or the haters who don't get her thing. But in threesomes, like bad paintings of Big Ben, there is often a piece that's missing. This is called Forbidden Fruit. Sometimes internal rhymes and strings are wings that lift my heart and catch my breath, leave me undressed to dream of little death. And yet my eyes are wet with damp emotion. The oceans call, boy, come back, or over here, another place, new home. A song of destiny, the frigid sea that warms for me, she pounds the sound eternally. Once again, you see, same old song, but in a new key. Thank you very much. There's folks who want to rant and rage at the dying of the day. Oh, shut right up and do your thing is what I have to say. You've had your chances and still have more. Don't quit. Perhaps what you are moaning at is that you know your shit. And others do what you did not. Now please stop being bitter, for if you don't, you'll feel much worse and become even more shitter. I want to read you, most of this isn't autobiographical for legal reasons, but this is a true story. I got a, you don't get letters anymore really, you don't get like proper letters, but when you get an official letter, you know, and it comes in a rigid envelope, you think this is important. So I got one the other day and I opened it up, and this is true, it was a certificate for my successful completion of a dementia awareness course that I had completely forgotten doing. This is called Forget-Me-Nots and deals with dementia. Of all the stuff I have forgotten, some details never escape me. The last to leave, the air I breathe, our senses held in common. The scent of you, of morning dew and love in laundered cotton, What sun remains through fevered fog dances through my eyes. I am not gone, just cannot find the lyrics to my song. Please know that you can only guess at what I still retain. And if I rail against the world, it's never you I blame. For at the heart of all I am, I'm pretty much the same. I like to be dangerous. Anybody here from the Midlands? Oh. This one just works in a bad Brummie accent, that's all. So, here you go. This is called Going Down. Arriving by coach from the Midlands, they're excited, now nervous, well anxious, and the glue that locks up their hands is the hope she's a little less thankless. They will tell her of their lovely journey, except for that man who was sick, and ask if they have real chips here, do they cut them right proper and thick. Leatherette case that they bought online, Cooper's catalogue fell from the mail. Now it's used twice a year if they're lucky, and the stitching's beginning to fail. This time it's to their oldest daughter, not inclined though to see them at all. She's something high up in that crypto, which explains why she never quite calls. They've no choice but to come to the city. It's not friendly or happy or green, but there's somebody famous from TV in a show which they'll boast that they've seen. On the journey back home to the quiet, the pain's in her voice, hush dear, don't. There's our son, he's another high flyer. I'm sure he'd like a visit. He won't. Do you remember being at school and being put off doing something you really liked by a teacher? Almost certainly single, this teacher, I've noticed. Like used to like painting or making things or whatever, and they kind of said, well, I don't really, just, focus on other stuff. Well, this is for you. I am not a painter. A real painter said I ain't. My technique is not so refined, yet all the same I paint. I'm not a writer. A real writer told me that, but I put down so many words they come to me like chat. I'm not a dancer. A real dancer mocked my pose, but I move to the rhythm though and feel it in my toes. I am not an artist. A real artist makes real art. It's not for me to self-label and put horse before the cart. I am not a poet. A poet told me so. I do not have a self-published book coming out and my poems rhyme. I am though quite contented because I do not give a jot. I scribble like a man demented and that my frenzy a lot. Another love one. It's called Is It You? And it's for that, when you're trying to figure out whether, that person is going to stay in your imagination longer than an hour. Love at first sight confused with lust, or worse, mistook for one we lost or overlooked. Pupils dilate, be still my heart, my destiny arrived, cherub Cupid's dart on us decided. The twist of hair, acute incline, the mimicry of manners stimulates the monetized minds of hobby wedding planners. It must be smell or chemistry that binds us in love's matrix. If it is electricity, well, that would make it physics. There is no art, not much to see in fate, sheer or miracle. Perhaps it's just biology and we are all plain gullible. I'm going to do a proper sonnet, for you students of poetry. We have a few every day who like to say, could you do like 3 quatrains and an heroic couplet in the standard 10-syllable A, B, C, D, E, F. I mean, they just bang me on the door, about 2 o'clock to say, give us a proper sonnet. I just want to say thank you for coming out. And for those of you who unexpectedly find yourself here and have stayed, not because you've lost your mobility, but enjoying it, a special thank you. My name is Nick Goodall, I'm the Bard of Broadstairs, thebardofbroadstairs.com. I post a poem every 2 days on Facebook, and I always stream everything I do as well, so if you've enjoyed this, you can watch it. And your feedback is enormously powerful. My next gig, I've got a residency this week. Hey, it's a fact. Somebody pointed out to me today, the last act to play 6 successive days in Thanet, in one venue, was the Beatles 60 years ago. I know, whatever happened to them? But my next gig, and this is a cracker, right? A couple of kids is. 31st of August, the Bedford in Ramsgate. It's the Salon of Erotica. I know it's hard to believe, And it begs the question, what shall I be doing? Well, here's a clue. I'm given to understand there's some pole dancing, there's some burlesque, there's a little bit of light bondage, and some poetry. That's right, I'm doing the light bondage. So, yeah, you'll find it on Facebook, and do come along, or well, at least some of that sentence. No what? Yeah, no paramilitary uniforms. I always forget to say that before all my gigs. It's a big thing. Oh, well, it's actually it's more Cliff's End really, but okay. Serious poet, thanks. I do love you. I do not have more words. We are as one when in a quiet moment that reaches into where I'm less absurd. I do not know how to be more potent. In touch, return to when we first it knew, there was no one who meant more in the world than me to them, now I to you, all true. Wrapped in arms we stood, stand, curled tight, secure. Same as the child naive, I'm innocent. They loved your bones and flesh and hair and breath. Now float and spin, we are not limerent. The state is ours until its day of death. You are in my heart, I am in pulse deep. Forever swear our bond until dark sleep. Right, a couple of poems and then you can all go home. If you're honest, you probably quite, you often actually meet people hoping they're having a worse time of it than you. You don't want to admit it. You leave it to people like me to put it into poems that you can laugh politely at and then go home and say, oh, I feel so bad about it now. This is called With Apologies. I met with you this afternoon ostensibly to see how are you doing, how's your life, are you unhappier than me? I thought that you had much the same in mind. My disappointment with life's cards were what you hoped to find. It's why we fools use socials, to satisfy us that, compared to us it's not so good and on you fate has shat. I was let down. You're doing great and joy filled every word. You wished me well and buoyed me up. It's a wonderful, wonderful world. How about... Let's have this one. Any psychotherapists in?
Yeah.
Any psychotherapists in the real world in? Anybody with any experience of psychotherapy? It's not a workshop. We're not going to bond over this. It's just a small talk, right? You don't have to go, yeah, actually me. Well, I know lots of people have, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. But this is about the shared experience of psychotherapy. I did this in Whitstable a few weeks ago, and I said any psychotherapists in here. There was that much of a draft, and then he fell over. Every hand went up. But here we go. This is called "And How Long Have You Felt Like This?" We always hurt the ones we love. They're closest to our truth, primed and yet quite unprepared to be the one that soothes. Outcomes are worst, in tantrums, rants and moody sulks. You just don't understand, and I don't see results. Perhaps secure in all but love, unseen they make a scene. Achievements count for nothing when you're stuck at age 15. Every day is a Groundhog Day, relief or analgesic. A rictus grin, another gin, your pain's encyclopedic. Does it sound like you? You're halfway there. Please carry on the digging. You'll find a corpse. It's yours, of course. It's only just beginning. Until then, your ghost will drag their chains around and moan. We're at a breakthrough, you and me. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Now, those of you who've been here for most of the week will have doubtlessly come across an act which has a little tinge of sadness about it. It's somebody who was... Do you remember that scene in The League of Gentlemen, that guy who was in that band Creme Brulee, and they were runners-up in a heat for New Faces in 1974? There's been a few of them around here. And one or two of them have been saying like, oh yeah, and we had this hit, which I hate it, but everybody wants me to play it. And they said, well, we complain about it, mate. Paid off your mortgage and paid off the last 3 divorces, so celebrate the fact you chose to sing in the first place. Stop whinging. And I have a similar story, obviously without the millions, all the divorces, all the mortgages. I did a poem about a year ago, and people go, do the train one, do the train one. I said, okay. As we're in a chapel, and it is a prayer, I am going to do the St. Pancras prayer. See what I mean? Now this one, you know the rhythm of this. You also know the words, but don't try and join in, because you don't know the order of the words I'm going to do it in. And it requires a bit of magic here. I'm going to magically transform into the Bishop of Broadstairs. Let us begin with thoughts for Ashford, and for Canterbury West, and for stations on the Dover branch, and all the stations in between, especially plucky little Sturry. From Stratford International to travel through Herne Bay, high speed via Faversham be thy name. Thy Rainham come, Strood will be done, in Chatham as it is in Rochester. Give us this day our Sittingbourne, and forgive us our Westgate, as we forgive those who Birchington on sea against us. And lead us not into Ebbsfleet, but deliver us from Margate. For thine is the bubble, the Chesfield and Swelcliffe and Gillingham. For Ramsgate, Dumpton and Broadstairs, Gravesend. Thank you very much, everybody. You are having a joke, aren't you? No. Is there one you remember that you like? I mean, not the same ones. I mean, you know, as a fan.
The last one, I like that one.
I like the last one, and I didn't understand it. Can you do it again?
Because we were stuck in Westgate for half an hour today, so that's why.
Oh, there you are. It's such, yeah, most people are united. It's like, you know, it's like the old joke about, you know, about time the whole world, you know, black and white, European, we're all galloped and ganged up on the French. Mention Margate almost anywhere, except actually sometimes even in Margate, that gets a laugh that like. Let me give you a bonus poem then. Thank you for the compliment. This is my sister's favourite poem, which is genuinely troubling, because this is about the type of people you meet when you're dating. Okay? It's called Let Me Introduce You To. Let me introduce you to the unspeakable, the unsuitable, the undateable, the unmateable, the try and return, the bargain bin, the night of sin, the too much gin, the too obligation, the new sensation, the toast of the nation, the conflagration. They're just like my ex, the one that shouts next, the one that's just sex, the one who has pecs. The play for today, the easy lay, the play away, the one that stayed, the pick-up line, the party time, the guys that mind, the didn't mind, the notch, the crotch, the gave you pox, the kept on socks. The bangs are rights, the went all night, the ladder tights, the might do might, the slept through tears, propelled by beers, egged on by cheers, confronted fears, acquired through guile, the ran a mile, the crocodile smile, the yip crest file. Never stay, never sane, please pray for the one who got away. You've started something dangerous here, haven't you? The great thing about doing 40-second poems is you can turn up at a gig and they go, could you do a couple of poems? I go, no. You go, why not? You say, well, how long have I got? They go, 15 minutes. I go, I get 20 in there. I go, really? 20? Yeah, and I work on the basis that eventually, do you want another Pam Ayres one? Listen, I promise I'll finish on the Pam Ayres one.
I love Pam Ayres.
All right then. So this is a true story. I was driving in Wiltshire with my friend Helen, and some kind of wild animal ran across the road in front of us. And Helen said to me, "Was that a stoat?" I don't know. But then I started thinking, what would Pam Ayres do? Oh my word, I said out loud when I was driving home. Was that a stoat I saw ahead, standing in the road? I rather hope it wasn't, as I think I mowed it down. Might have been a fox, I suppose, not in that part of town. Can't be helped, I'll clean the tires, there's not much else to do, as Mr. Stoat or Mrs. Stoat will never make the news. I expect that you are thinking now this is not one of our wittiest poems. There's no obvious gag or punchline coming and you think I'd best be going. I wasn't being sweet and rustic enough, coming over cynical blasé. There's more to life than my teeth, an old man, but that stuff, it just doesn't well pay. So here's to all the trivia that life is mostly made of when you don't look out for the big stuff like justice, peace, and kindness, or in my case, a stoat. Thank you very much! Bless you all. I'm back tomorrow. Wait. I'm back tomorrow at 3:30 because I've got an emergency filling. Now, it's a molar, so there's a good chance that at 3:30 you will see the Elephant Man reading these poems. It's going to be either his or I'll just run away. So anyway, that's that. Don't forget the erotica. Bedford, 31st of August. It'll be a hoot, and I am not in chains. Thank you. Contractually, I'm not in chains.